My name is Melissa Avera, and I love being a realtor. I specialize in real estate in the DFW and surrounding areas, and I also grew up here, so I'm very familiar with the Metroplex. Buying or selling a home can be an extremely stressful task, so I really try to go the extra mile to take that stress out of my clients' hands.
This is Going the Extra Mile. Now, from Frito Nation Productions in the Caddo Office Reimagined Studios, here's Melissa.
Hey everybody, I'm really excited to be in the studio today with a good friend of mine. His name is Andy Bush, and he is the owner of Ace Handyman Services in Collin County. Hey Andy, thanks for being here.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So I want to give a little background of how I actually met Andy, and I don't know if you remember this or not, but when I very first got into the real estate industry, my business coach told me or encouraged me to really try to grow a network with other professionals in the industry and just build relationships with them. And, you know, I knew a few people, but honestly, they weren't anybody I really wanted to do business with or that I knew I could trust and refer to my clients. So I did probably what nobody really wants to do and kind of look like a weirdo. I just started Google searching people, different businesses, and one of the first people I wanted to partner with was some sort of handyman service. And I came across you, which was at the time, it was Handyman Matters.
Right.
And I just dialed the number, and I'm pretty sure you actually answered the phone. And I just told you kind of who I was and that I was new in the industry at the time and trying to partner with people. And you were literally one of the only people that was just so encouraging and welcoming and said, absolutely, I would love to meet with you and see how we can grow and partner together on things. Everybody else was just I'm not looking to grow my business. No thanks. Like it was just straight up a sales call.
That's crazy.
And I thought to myself, good Lord, because a lot of these people I was calling were self-employed or small business owners. And I thought, if you're not ever looking to grow your business, are you looking to get out of business? Because I'm always trying to grow.
I think that's the default if you don't, yeah.
You know, and so just from that moment, I just clicked with you. And that's been, 5-6 years probably now. And, you know, I try to refer almost all my people who need any kind of service. I always throw your name in the hat. So.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think we kind of clicked. And I think you're one of the good ones out there. I really do.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I mean, we laugh about the fact that people, when we answer the phone, people will tell us, my gosh, you actually answered the phone. It's amazing how many people don't. And I mean, I don't understand it. I mean, like you say, we're in business, so
right.
Why
it's
wouldn't
pretty
you?
Sad, isn't it?
Yeah.
How you regularly, I leave messages for businesses, and I mean, maybe 25% of people actually return my call.
Right.
You know, and it can be like people I'm sending business to, like a lender or whoever,
right,
saying I have this commercial deal that's a $3 million, you know, we're going to make a pretty penny on it, and just crickets.
Right.
Just no response, and it just blows my mind. And
I agree.
For me, I mean, I give people a few shots, but if you can't even have the decency to return my call, you're probably not worth working with.
Well, I think it goes down to integrity. I mean, if you're not going to do what you say you're going to do, and it comes down to something simple like that, well, then what kind of integrity are they going to have when it comes time for something bigger?
Yeah. And I think nowadays, I mean, why we're on this topic is with everything with coronavirus, I mean, it's just been, everybody needs help. Everybody is short. You pretty much, people are apologizing up front for the crappy service or lack thereof. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's even worse getting people on the phone, you know.
Right.
So the fact that you and I are always your team is always prompt about letting me know what's going on a project, or if they're running late, they're courteous. Hey, I'm 30 minutes behind, or whatever. You know, people just don't do that anymore.
It's just courtesy to me. I mean, you know, it's like you just treat others the way you want to be treated.
Exactly.
You know?
Well, tell everybody a little bit about yourself and how you came into this specific industry.
Oh, gosh. How much time do we have? So, yeah, I was a professional. okay, backing up, I started off in architecture when I was in college. I thought I wanted to be an architect for the time I was probably middle school on. And so I was really good at drawing straight lines, and I loved designing houses and stuff like that. I thought it was really cool. When I went off to college, and I began to realize that really wasn't what I wanted to do. I kind of joke about it, just really wasn't that creative, but I was creative. It just wasn't my niche. And so my plan was to kind of go into real estate lending and learn that kind of stuff, and ended up working in the development company. It was my goal, just to kind of help. And what that translated into was I'm a really good project manager. And so got a finance degree, and got out and worked in finance for several years, and met a guy who did repairs on houses. We did insurance repair. And so I worked for him for a little bit, and it was fun. I really never enjoyed a job as much as I did that one. But then he committed insurance fraud, and so we had to shut it down. So he let me go on July 4th. And that was kind of a little lesson on, there's a lot of really good people out there in the industry, but there's so many ways to take advantage of people, and to, do things that are unscrupulous and that type of thing. And it kind of left a bad taste in my mouth a little bit. I went back to what I knew, which was, financial type stuff. And that's when I became a project manager, and did that for a lot of years. And then, got laid off. My company was in Michigan, and I was down here. And so I saw the writing on the wall. And so I just wrote it out, and they gave me the opportunity to look for something different. And so I tried to find a different job. And I remember going on an interview and literally feeling like I was choking. I just couldn't do it. I'm like, okay, I came home and told my wife, I'm like, I've got to go do something on my own. And so, by God's grace, he led me towards this kind of thing. And I didn't really want to do this. And she said, why don't you want to do this? And I'm like, well, I don't want to do it because there's so many unscrupulous people out there, and people don't do a good job. That's why you need to do it. And it really kind of resonated with me. And so then that's kind of how this got started.
That's interesting. I didn't realize that part of it. That's part of why I got into the real estate industry, because when I've always had an interest in it, but when I bought my first house, my experience with my realtor was just not what I was expecting, or not what I thought it should be. When you're a first-time home buyer, you need a little bit more maybe hand-holding, and you don't know what you don't know. But, I mean, it was a roller coaster ride the whole time. And I thought, one day you're under contract, the next day, well, no, this happened. Just stuff that is not really customary. And I thought, man, I don't want other people to have this experience,
Well, yeah, that, and I mean, it seems like too sometimes they're not very organized. A lot of realtors seem to just run around at the last minute trying to fight fires and hair on fire. Exactly.
That is so true. Well, and especially nowadays, I was having a conversation with a client this morning, and he was like, who's a referral from a buddy of mine, and he's like, we've been talking to realtors since last May, and none of them seem to hear our needs or even listen. And I was like, I'm sorry.
Right.
I mean, when he told me what they were needing, I mean, it's not difficult. Just people don't want to hear.
Right.
And I thought, it's just terrible. But so many people, especially in my industry, have come in the last few years because, it's a hot market, and they think the money's easy. And then they get out once they realize they're not going to cut it.
Right.
But so tell us a little bit about kind of the scope of services that you guys provide, and are there any specific type jobs that you focus on more, that you guys rather do more, or things you kind of shy away from or refer out?
Yeah, I'll tell people, we'll do anything from changing a battery in a smoke detector or a light bulb all the way up to a bathroom remodel and anything in between. By being a handyman company, and really the way I think about it is we're a professional construction company that specializes in smaller jobs. We're trying to bring some professionalism and things like insurance and, background checks and stuff like that you kind of think ought to be there, but a lot of people don't do it. Mm-hmm. And so we're trying to bring that to the smaller job market. There are tons of remodelers out there, and some of them are professional and some of them are just guys in a truck, just same as anything else. But we want to bring that professionalism to the small stuff. So by nature, our jobs are going to be the smaller repair type items, anything. I mean, we do a lot of drywall work, door repairs, siding repairs, gate repairs. There's 1,162 different things we came up with that we could do. And I guess if we'd sat down and thought about it, we might could come up with a few more. So, just really repairs and things like that. But really at the end of the day, it's listening to what our clients need and then trying to find the right solution. And sometimes it's us and most of the times it's us, but once in a while it's not. I mean, there may be a specialty or something. Plumbing and electrical is a really difficult spot to be because you're supposed to be licensed to do those kinds of things.
Right.
And a lot of people don't know that. And when you explain it to them, then they're just thinking, well, you just aren't that skilled. No, it's not. I mean, correct, we're not because we're not licensed for it. But you need to be licensed to do those sorts of things. And really, we're trying to look out for our clients and people. And it's funny how many people don't seem to understand that,
Yeah.
But so those are types of things that we have to stay away from that requires a license like electrical and plumbing. We don't do roofing just because most of my guys are older. I'm looking for a really broad skill set. And that doesn't come with anything but experience.
That's right.
And
that's hard to find, isn't it?
It is. It is. And so the more experienced guys, me included, getting tired of getting on roofs. And so we just kind of draw the line and say we don't get on roofs. But I've got some really good roofers that we work with. And I just refer them out. And they take great care of our clients. And so in the case of a roof leak, they'll go take care of the roof leak. They're doing a better job than we are at that because that's a specialty they do all the time. And then we'll take care of the drywall and any kind of damage inside afterwards.
Okay, perfect. And you are only Collin County, correct? Or do you go outside
Well,
of Collin County?
we are franchised. And so we are actually associated with Ace Hardware now. And so there are other offices in the area. So our area, the area that my office covers is basically Collin County. But we go a little bit into Denton County, a little bit into Dallas County.
Okay.
But it's just easiest. It sets the right idea about our geographic area when we say Collin County.
Right, no doubt. How has, the last couple of years with the pandemic, have there been, I'm sure, ups and downs with your business? Are there anything that just jumps out to you that have been, man, this has really improved our business, or boy, this has been a huge challenge for us? I'm always just curious to hear.
Yeah, this may not be an answer you were looking for. The pandemic was really interesting when we shut down everything that caused a lot of businesses a hiccup, which it did for us too. Then people were home and they were looking at their houses going, I can't stand this. I'm tired of looking at this. And I can't tell you how many people called us and said, I'm here. I'm looking at this every day. I want to get this fixed. And so while we were considered essential, and so we followed, proper protocols that everybody wanted us to do with masks and things like that. But the people that wanted us to come over, we went on in and we did the repairs. And so it was interesting because what I found since then is a lot of people are still working from home. And so it's been, whereas before it was difficult to have to take off work in order to have us come over, or we'd have to try to schedule the limited amount of time we had on a Saturday. And now people have the flexibility that we can come in during the week.
Yeah.
And so that's made it a lot easier to help more people out and to get the work done for them. And so I think that's been a positive.
So has business increased quite a bit?
We've been really blessed. Getting business isn't really hard for us. It's being able to get everybody in with the guys that we can find. I am looking for a real high level guy. I want a lot of experience, and I want somebody that can communicate, that understands, can think, reason, rationalize, problem solve, all those kinds of things, those soft skills that are a little harder to teach. And so those guys, when you find them, you grab them. Mm-hmm. And so I would rather work and push people out a little bit and know the quality work we're going to provide than to have a couple of guys that I'm not really sure about, and then throw them out there and we end up not
It's a rare
being
breed trying to find
It is.
people like that. I mean, my dad has always been very handy. I always called him Mr. Fix-It, because I feel like, and I said this to him just the other day. I'm like, Dad, there's nothing you can't fix. And yeah, whatever, But I mean, he will always, the thing I appreciate is he always tries. And if he doesn't know how to do it, he'll figure out a way, and where nowadays I feel like, especially some of the younger generations, they just they don't want to try to figure it out. It's like, well, I'd rather just pay somebody. And,
right.
And there's a fine line with that. Like, there's certain things at my house where I'm sure my husband could probably fix it, but I'm like, you know what? Let's just call Andy and have him come out, because I appreciate you trying to do it, but I can already see this going sideways, and then it's going to end up costing us more than if we would have just had you come out.
Well, I've definitely learned over the years. I mean, having the right tool and the right experience makes all the difference. I mean, we'll have guys come interview and they'll say, well, what kind of qualifications? Well, I remodeled my house. Okay, that's great. But how many trips to the hardware store did you spend? How many times did you try it? How long did it take you? And those kinds of things, which the experience and the knowledge, but it comes right back around again. time is worth a lot, especially in our busy days right now. I'm to the place now that there's times that I have my guys come out and work at my house way more often than I do it, just because my time's valuable too.
Right. Now, do you ever have to deal with, like, when you're doing a bigger remodel, like on a bathroom, if you're taking out like a window or something like that, do you have to ever deal with the city at all for like permitting? Or
Sure.
Is that, okay.
Sure, absolutely. The majority of the repairs and things like that, we don't have to pull permits for, because it's repairing what's existing.
Yeah.
But in a few areas, there's even restrictions on that. If you're going to replace an existing door in some cities, you have to get a permit. So if a permit's required, yes, we do that.
Okay.
But in a lot of cases, we don't have to mess with this because it's repairs.
Because I see things all the time, going in all these homes where somebody's done a remodel, and I'm like, wow, that was not done right. Like, what's so ironic, my parents used to own a home in Stonebridge Ranch, and some of my best friends, they had been talking about moving up to McKinney, and hadn't talked to him in a while, and my buddy called me one day, and he's like, hey, we're going to be neighbors. We bought a house. And I said, really, where? And he's like, in Stonebridge. And then we started talking. I said, what street? And he told me the street, and I said, you're kidding. I said, what's the house number? Well, he bought my parents' old house.
Oh, how crazy.
And there was an owner in between or whatever. And then, I knew that house like the back of my hand. And they, talking about the permits, they ended up having all sorts of issues. The people who lived there prior remodeled the bathroom. And I'm like, hey, there used to be a window there. And they're like, really? I'm like, oh, yeah, there was a big window. And then they covered it. Well, they didn't do anything right. And then after last February's Snowmageddon incident, they started having every issue under the sun. And it got so bad so fast. And come to find out, there was nothing done that was supposed to be done per the contractor. And it just got messy. I was like,
wow.
With attorneys and things. And I'm like, that's really unfortunate. People just do it right.
Yeah.
The first time.
It is unfortunate. And we hear it all the time. I mean, we hear it constantly. I mean, to the point one time I literally, I'd heard of it happening, but somebody called one day and said, I just had this contractor come in my house, and I came back afterwards and noticed that all the windows were unlocked. And I've heard that that's a thing,
Wow.
So, gosh, I mean.
So do you get a lot of the calls where you're going in fixing what another contractor kind of screwed up? Or?
A lot of the time we do, and it's not so much for fixing what they screwed up. It was just that the people don't always have a good experience. It took, what we hope is that it just took longer, but they finally got a good job out of it.
Yeah.
Kind of like we were talking about before, construction guys aren't always the best time managers either. And so they don't want to lose a job, so they do what they call stake a job, where they'll go out and they'll start a job, and then they disappear for a week or so and go do the other job they were working on before. And then they come back and work on you, but that leaves a bad taste in everyone's mouth.
Absolutely. Once it started, people just want it done.
Right. And so I think in more cases than not, things didn't go the way they expected. What we hate to hear is that they took the money and ran, which happens. We hear that often, and more so now than we were. But in most cases, it wasn't a good experience. So we're looking for something, everything kind of is an experience now. I mean, it's not only the work that's being done. I tell my guys all the time, if we just do a good job, that's a C.
Absolutely. That's why I tell people, all my clients, I'm like, if you need help with, and I'll list off, anybody, any type of services that you guys provide. I'm like, don't Google somebody. If you need it, just call me. I will connect you with somebody who, because I only try to send people to my clients that I've either done work with personally, that I trust. I know they're going to do a good job.
Right.
Reputable people, because I get a lot of the phone calls. Well, I wish I would have gone with who you said because this guy screwed me over. Mm-hmm. Or exactly, took my money and ran. I had an older couple that happened to, and we're not talking about a little amount of money.
Right.
It was a lot, and the guy just disappeared.
Right.
And, I just thought, that's terrible. People just get so taken advantage of,
It is.
But, so on another topic, since we're kind of in the change of season, well, I mean, I don't know, it's 80 degrees and it's December, right? But, so just preparing for more winter, cold months, do you have any tips or tricks that you'd recommend maybe that are seasonal for winter or every season that homeowners just walk around their house and check, or things that they maybe should just do, or annual checks that some of your guys could help with?
Yeah, I mean, there's safety issues like batteries and smoke detectors and, door locks and things like that, just for safety. Carbon monoxide detectors, stuff like that, making sure that they're functioning. As far as just the winter, I mean, winter here to us isn't as bad as other parts of the country, but,
right.
We do have dips. I mean, it gets in the 20s and, a lot of the houses around here are a little drafty. So we think about, trying to make sure the caulking around the windows is as good as possible. Door, the weather stripping on the door. Make sure that the doors are sealing properly, because the weather stripping can be there, but the door's not sealing properly. So door adjustments sometimes, thresholds underneath the doors, so that as much of the, quote, holes in the house are being sealed up as much as possible so that you're keeping the heat inside. Those are probably the simplest and easiest things.
And those are such basic things, and I feel like so many people, right? Like I was looking around my house the other day. I'm like, okay, these things need to be recaulked, but I'm thinking, I could do it, but it might look like crap. So I would rather probably have Andy come out.
Right.
And just make sure it's done and it looks clean. Because I'd be mad at myself. I could see me getting it all over my granite. And
a lot of times, some of what we do really isn't that complicated, but it's just, it gets on the list, and I'm gonna get it around to it at some point. And no one ever gets around to it at that point. And so it ends up getting, season after season, it goes by and nothing's been done.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you just call somebody just to get it taken care of, just so it gets done. And it's easier. You can move on and think about something else, which again, we're all busy.
And same thing, like if somebody, and your answer might be the same for this, but obviously I help people buy and sell homes. So if somebody is about to list their home, are there any things that you would say, like a little pre-list checklist kind of thing, like, hey, walk through your house and make sure these basic things, just so it looks cleaner?
Right. I mean, I'm often referring people back to the realtor, and when I can, I'm always referring you, but a lot of times people already have a realtor when they come to me.
Right.
And so we're going through looking at things, and, I'm not in a position to tell them what's going to add value, but what I do think, any kind of cracks in the sheetrock just instantly lead people to think there must be something going on here. And our soil is dynamic, so we get little, small, minute cracks, and those aren't anything really to worry about. But a buyer from another area doesn't know that. And so that's going to say, oh, what's wrong? And so I think fixing those kinds of things are some of the easy things that have to be done anyway that really make a big difference in just making people feel comfortable. If it's a big jagged crack, that's a whole different deal. And now we've got to start talking about, foundation repairs and stuff like that. And at that point, we don't want to cover that up.
Right.
Because that would be dishonest. And we certainly don't want to do that. But little things like that, people, I think also the inspectors always catch the windows. Where the panes are, they'll lose their, the seal on the panes.
Seal.
And so and I think that's something that I don't know, you could tell me this, but I mean, recent past, it doesn't seem like as many people have had to do as many repairs now as they were before.
They sure aren't.
But several years ago, that was something that always, and it seemed like the buyers always wanted that fixed. Out of anything that happened, they wanted those windows replaced. So,
yeah. And, you know, and that's just because the vapor seal is not, you know, working properly, it does not mean the window is shot.
Correct.
And that's what so many people think. I just had to talk some people off the ledge where they were like, well, we want all new windows. Well, I mean, that's a lot of money.
It's a lot. New
windows. And this was a big house. And I'm like, if you ask for all new windows, and the house was built in like 2012, so give me a break.
Right.
They're not even old. I was like, you're not going to have a chance. Like, they will literally tell you to take a hike if you ask for that.
And two, I mean, we've probably all seen, most people have probably seen where they've gotten so bad that they're all fogged up and you can't see out of it.
Yeah. That's
a real cosmetic issue. And certainly the house isn't going to show well.
Right.
And no one really wants to see that. And so that becomes a cosmetic issue. But there's a way that we can tell that the seal's broken when the average person can't tell. And so they're not noticing it. You can still see out and everything looks fine. And so those are types of situations where it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But the inspectors always catch it, and it always is one of those things that seems to make people uncomfortable because they're not explaining what's going on, and so it makes you nervous. Well, is my window going to leak? What does that mean?
Right.
You know.
Well, and they're buying a house, and it might not be a brand new house, but it's new to them. And those people, I get that. They want it to be perfect.
Of course.
Yeah, but there's a compromise with everything, especially in this crazy market we're in, where you can pretty much sell a house as is and get top dollar and not have to do any repair, and that's especially on my first time buyers. That's what I have to explain to people. And I feel like I'm doing them, I tell them, I'm like, I would be doing you a disservice if I didn't explain this up front. They're probably going to get 25 offers. So anything you ask for is weakening your chance.
Right.
I mean, obviously my job is to try to get them the best deal, but when you're competing with 25 other people, I mean, you have to put your best foot forward if you're serious.
Definitely.
But I want to give just a little of my personal experience with you guys. You've done quite a bit of work with, for me on a couple of houses, and most recently, my husband and I had a patio door that we wanted. We had been wanting this for a while, and pretty much we wanted a slider door installed where we just had a regular door, and then I guess you would call it 2 window panels on the side. And, I thought, man, this is going to be a job. And you didn't bat an eye about your guys doing it, and they were awesome.
Thank you.
I mean, they worked their tails off. It was a big job. I mean, I think they were at my house for 3 days when it was all said and done, off and on. But I will have to text you before and after pictures because it looks completely different.
Good.
Now the weather's so nice, which unseasonably, right? So when I'm home, I have that door open all day, every day, and just getting that nice breeze, coming in. But
which what you said all the way through was that you kind of wanted that to be able to bring the outdoor space a little bit in, and the indoor space a little bit out. So
well, and you guys did a door for me at my other house. I had on my garage, I had like a side door to my entrance to my garage, and I guess just over time there was no awning there, and the wood at the bottom, all the trim just rotted out, and I don't think the door was really a great exterior door. And so you guys had to rip all of that out, and things that I'm like, to me those are pretty big jobs. It's not something you just knock out in an hour.
Right.
And I've had no issues. Everything just looks great. So I really appreciate.
Well, thank you. We've enjoyed working with you too.
You're always prompt. You're always have good people whom, I was totally comfortable. Most people, one thing I will say is when you have like a handyman or someone working in your home, I work from home a lot, but there's a lot of times I'm on the road. And there were times I had to leave, and your guys were just at my house, and me or my husband weren't there. And I never hesitated. Like, I wasn't worried about somebody being in my house and me not being there. And to me, that's a true level of trust. Because most people don't get that with companies.
Right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. It's definitely a personal thing. My father is the type of guy that not only does he not let anyone in his home unless he's there, he's following him around, But my kind of one of the last tests I do as far as hiring a guy is would I put him at my house and walk away? And, most of the guys have eventually, they'll all work at my house at some point. Mm-hmm. But if I won't turn around and walk away and leave them at my house, I'm not going to send them to yours. I'm certainly not going to hire them. It's just one of the things that I do. I appreciate that. But again, we want people to be comfortable. And if they're not comfortable, we certainly want them to be the level of comfort. So if they want to be there, then they're fine to watch. We've had situations where guys just set chairs down and they just watch them work. And that's great too.
Yeah.
It's somebody to talk to. So,
Or distract them, one of the two.
Well,
well, thanks so much for being here.
You bet. Enjoyed it.
Tell us or tell everybody how they can get in touch with you, or what's the best way to get in touch with you if they have questions or need your services.
Well, we try to make it easy. So, you can find us on the web at acehandymanservices.com. We're the Collin County office. You can call us on the phone, 972-346-3041. You can email us at collincounty@acehandymanservices.com. And then you can even go on our website and actually, there is a place that you can actually put in for service, and it'll send us an email through that. And we can also, so if you're, 3:00 in the morning, you just happen to be awake, you can always, just decide you want to go looking for home repairs. You can always do it at that time too. So we just try to be wherever anybody needs us.
Perfect. Well, that's awesome. Thanks so much, Andy. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
If you have questions about buying, selling, renting, or investing, don't go at it alone. Reach out to Melissa at 214-280-4317 or melissa@melissamovesdfw.com. You can find out more about the Melissa Avera Realty Group at TVG by visiting melissamovesdfw.com. Thank you for listening to Going the Extra Mile.